Welcome back. Congratulations. You guys are the survivors for today's event. So good job. Now, I heard some challenges during the day of, well, I can certainly beat the 12 as far as connections. Did anybody go north of 12? Anybody? Oh, there's still time. Wait a second. I saw a hand. Is that Christine? Christine, not 14. This is going to go on all night. So don't forget, we're going to have our reception after. We'd love for you to join us at the reception, and we'll spend an hour, and it's compliments of Atlassian. So thank you, Atlassian, for being a title sponsor. So thank you, guys. Now, if you don't know the name Lyssa Atkins, you will today, and you'll be like, oh my gosh, how come I have never heard of her name before? Now, who here has heard of Lyssa before? Come on. Now, I've had the pleasure of being a student in one of her classes, so I feel like I'm the beneficiary of all these great things she has in her head. And so when we asked her to join us today, I was crossing my fingers and my toes that she would really have the chance to do it. She's really quite busy, and as being this thought leader in the Agile space is unknown. She's really helped advance. And with her book, Coaching Agile Teams, I mean, we really started to rethink what coaching really meant. But here's the thing. Here's the secret that Lyssa's got. She's got this superpower. She's like Wonder Woman. She's got this other superpower of really taking Agile and really coaching up to the next level. So for the next hour, you might hear a few things about Agile, but what I'm hoping you get out of this is an even deeper experience of what agility is and what coaching is all about and what the coaching mindset and how that can unfold not only with what you can do with yourself, but what you can do with your teams and your organization and how you can increase and amp up your experience with your teams. So Lyssa has been, she's been a forerunner in so many areas. She's one of the founders of the original ACI group, and she is now the emeritus of ACI as president, and she's just making new strides and taking things to a new level. So with that, Lyssa Atkins.
How are y'all? Yeah? I'm from Virginia. I can say y'all. All right. So let's spend some time together, shall we? Yeah? A little bit of time together. So here's where we're headed for the next little while together. We are headed toward exploring this idea of Agilists and our values and what is going on with adult human development, such that perhaps, just perhaps, we are the leaders we've been waiting for. So you get to decide by the end of this if you think that's even plausible. We're going to go a few places before you have to think about it. All right, so there was a question asked of me about a year ago that stumped me. And so I thought about it, and I came up with two plausible answers to it. We're going to be looking at those answers. Here's the question. If we value interactions and individuals, or individuals and interactions so darn much, why do processes and tools so often run the show? What's up with that? Right? Now, I think processes and tools are great. I love me a good process. I love me a good tool. But if we really buy into this, that individuals and interactions are more important, what is going on such that we're not living it? Right? So there are two things I've been thinking about that might be reasons why, and there are probably many other reasons why. So the idea here is to get you thinking about it. So the two we're exploring are our own abilities in individuals and interactions, and then the larger sphere of what's going on in the world related to individuals and interactions. So how we're going to start this is that I am going to tell you a little bit about something that really changed the way I think about Agile and about what we're here to do with Agile. And it was this trip I took to Peru a little over a year ago now. My daughter just turned 21. She is in university. She came home from university and she said, Mom, got a list of 15 places we have to go in the next 10 years because they will either be completely gone or their climate will have destroyed them. Our climate will have destroyed them. And so one of those places was, of course, the jungle in South America. So she finds this amazing volunteer tourism opportunity. She goes and volunteers doing essentially manual labor in the jungle, well past electricity, and says, you want to come? And I'm like, sure. Sure. I mean, who doesn't want to go somewhere when their young adult child asks them to go? Like, okay, yeah, I'll go to the moon with you, sure, right? So this is part one of the story, and we're going to pick up part two toward the end. So the jungle is as beautiful as you can imagine. These are pictures I took with my iPhone while we were there. It's absolutely gorgeous. It is this, as I was flying over and landing in the place where we were going to pick up the boat and then go way down the river to where we were going to be working, I saw all these clouds, and it just dawned on me, my gosh, like I am literally here at the lungs of the planet. That's one of the things that this rainforest does for us. It breathes for us, right? Literally here at the lungs of the planet. And there's all this gorgeous biodiversity, all these amazing things. We don't even know. We haven't even begun to discover the whole range of biodiversity that's there in the Amazon rainforest. And I got to experience it firsthand. And lest you think it's all glorious, I mean, just look at us. That's me and Kaylee, my daughter, and that's a big tree. And here's the thing you need to know about the jungle is that everything in it wants to kill you. Everything in the jungle wants to kill you. In fact, you carry machetes all the time because you're hacking things away from you. I mean, even plants have like really long spines on them. And you're taught that if you fall, which happens a lot because you're slogging through mud, if you fall, throw away your machete because you don't want to fall on your machete and you don't want to grab anything else. Like they say literally, don't grab a tree, don't grab a plant because you'll hurt yourself. That's how like defended these things are in the jungle, right? So this is what it's really like. That's our bunkhouse. This is where I slept. It's literally, a screen porch. No electricity, guys. And those are our boots. This is about the moment where Kaylee says to me, what we're doing is we're bushwhacking through this swamp because it's part of the experiments they were doing in agroforestry. They had to keep these trails clear. So we were there for manual labor. We got our machetes in our hands and we're bushwhacking. This is the point where Kaylee says to me, Mom, if we're going to see anaconda, it's probably going to be around here. We didn't see anaconda. I was really, really glad, right? Really glad. And that is, that's a really nice bridge. That's what counts for a really nice bridge, right? So when we were in the jungle, I got so clear that this is the place of incredible diversity. It's so important for our planet. And I got clear actually also how fragile it is in a lot of ways. When we came down the river to go, like I said, like 2 hours past electricity into the place where we'd be working, the river was pretty high. And as we went back, just a couple days later to go run for supplies, the river's depth had dropped by 20 feet. 20 feet. I know, I'm actually not exaggerating, 20 feet. And I just casually said to the woman who lives at this sanctuary, I said, so what's going on here? And she just said, well, the Amazon is really quite sensitive. All this means is that we haven't had rain in the cloud forest probably in the last 3 or 4 days. So just hang on to that. So that's how sensitive this river is. This is the Madre de Dios, and this is where we were working. Okay, that's where we're going to leave that story for now. Now we're going to come back to this world. Question, why do processes and tools so often run this show? So think about the pictures on the left and the pictures on the right. On the left here, the top left classroom, isn't it pretty clear how the individual's interactions are going to go? right? Pretty straightforward. This is a modern classroom. On the right, it is far less clear how individuals and interactions are going to go there, right? On the bottom here, two ideas of how we think of organizations. Thinking of an organization as a machine, it's pretty clear how individuals and interactions and even processes and tools are going to work. But the idea of the organization as an ecosystem, it's completely unclear. In fact, the idea of managing an ecosystem is pretty laughable. Yet, think about what's happening in our organizations. We probably are trying to apply ideas from the left-hand side to our current day realities, which are maybe a little bit more like the right-hand side, right? So we're going to explore both of those things, how we're working with this as individuals and interactions, and then how we're shifting to this idea of organization as ecosystems. Okay, so in this keynote, we're standing on the shoulders of, you know what? I can't wait for the time that I show a slide and it's all women up there. Now, having said that, I truly adore these men because they have done wonderful work for us and we're standing on their shoulders. But let me tell you what, ladies, it ain't gonna be too long before it's us up there. All right. So I'm gonna lay down a little bit of theory and then we're gonna use it together, okay? This is integral theory. Would you guys mind shutting that door? That'd be great, thank you. This is integral theory, and it comes to us from outside the Agile world, but it is so useful inside the Agile world for us seeing things in a more holistic way. It's so simple in a certain way, this theory. So at the top there's singular, the bottom there's collective, the left-hand side intangible, right-hand side tangible. There are only 4 perspectives that you can look through to see any situation more holistically. So simple in a certain way, right? I, we, it, it's. You think back to grammar, you know, like every language you ever learned has these different aspects to it. So let's now lay in some of the names that go inside of these. So the I quadrant is the psychological, we, cultural, it is behavioral, and its is systems. So that's the general idea. Now what we're about to do is apply it to Agile teams. Okay, you ready? So I'm going to get you thinking about this for an Agile team. Okay, applying it to Agile teams, what happens is that the psychological, like the detail of it for our Agile world becomes Agile mindset, right? Think about it. The mindset of the individual Agilist on a team. And we're looking at not only how Agile is their mindset, for example, how much can they volunteer for tasks, how much can they tolerate ambiguity, stuff like that, but we're also talking about their literal mental complexity. How many perspectives can they hold at the same time without freaking out, for example, right? That's an adult development level. So that's the Agile mindset. Down in the we quadrant, team culture and relationships. You know this because you walk into a team, don't you? And you're like, oh, that one's jamming. Oh, that one is, ugh, right? You can think about just like the team mojo, right? You can feel it. Up in the it quadrant, practices and roles, and also products. Like what are some of the qualities of the products we're delivering? Down in the its quadrant, the organizational environment around a team. Like all the things that either enable or disable the team from having a healthy product flow from beginning to end, right? From idea to delivery to the actual customer. All right, so what we're about to do, you've just gotten 4 minutes on this model, and here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna ask you to apply it, okay? I'm gonna give you a scenario, and as you read this, I'm actually gonna read it out loud because some people learn better that way. You can also read it yourself, it's cool. Here's what you're doing. As you read it, you're paying attention to, what thing would I try to fix this problem in this scenario? Where does my mind go first? And what you're trying to locate is, does your mind go to the we quadrant, to the team culture and mindset? Does it go to the it, the practices and roles and things about their product? To the its or to the I? Where does your mind go first? Yeah. Okay, here's our scenario. The Agile Program Office has mandated retrospectives. To make the retro efficient so people can get back to real work, the Scrum Master uses the same facilitation design each time. Some team members think the retro is a waste and others want to use it to improve. The second group complains about the first, saying they are anti-Agile. Do you agree there's some problems here? Potentially some problems here. Just a little, yeah? This is our mess. Because I don't really think we have problems anymore. Actually, someone said this a few years ago, and I can't remember who it was right now. He said, we don't have problems, we have messes. And it makes sense to me, right? So, all right. So think about what intervention you might do to help this situation. And can you locate it in one of these quadrants? Can you do that? Because in a moment we're going to do a poll, and I'm going to ask you to stand up as I say each quadrant so that we can see what's true in the room. I want you to learn from each other. Yeah? Okay. So if your intervention comes from the IT quadrant, the practices and roles, go ahead and stand up. There's no one? Okay, all right, we got a couple brave souls back there. Okay, like 3 or 4 people. Okay. If your quadrant comes from the ITS, or if your intervention comes from the ITS quadrant, the organizational environment, stand up. Thank you for standing up, you guys. Yeah. Okay, so a few more people. Y'all up here in the front look back so we can see what's true. Okay, what about the I quadrant, people's mindsets? Did your intervention come from that quadrant? All right, so it's like some more. All right, now where are the we people? Okay, does that look like the most people? Yeah, so it looked like the biggest group was we, followed by I, and then it's, and then it. So you know what? We love us, individuals and interactions, don't we? We do. As a community, we have a real affinity for individuals and interactions. And here's the thing. I assert that our level of skill does not match our affinity. Because if we had a greater level of skill in individuals and interactions in the I quadrant and the we quadrant, we would see individuals and interactions lead the day more often than processes and tools. Maybe. I mean, that's what I'm kind of thinking at this point. So let's see how what we just experienced, let's see how the individuals and interactions thing lays over this model. So this model is still there, but I'm going to cover it over, okay? You know, this came to me in the middle of the night in Peru, what I'm about to show you. I literally woke up and went, oh my gosh, the Agile Manifesto stuff maps to this model of these 4 quadrants. And like, what an interesting thing. Like, maybe we can get some insight from that. So let's see what happens for you. Maybe you'll get some insight. So here's the thing. Of course, individuals, right? And interactions over processes and tools and structures for scaling. So, you know, what's so interesting is that we have processes and tools and structures for scaling so much in the forefront in our community, yet every single time I've done this keynote, the vast majority of you all have stood up saying your intervention in a situation like that big mess we just had would be in the I and the we quadrant. Yeah. So here's what I want to let you know. There is amazing technology available to us for the I and the we quadrants. It's just not widely distributed yet. We're going to experience some of it right now because the power of working in the we quadrant is the power of harnessing the team's spirit, okay? And so here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the fact that it's not just how the team gets their work done or what they do, but it's more important, is it more important? It's at least as important to focus on who they're being together such that they develop their own capabilities as a team so that they can deliver better all the time. Collaboration, creativity, conflict, these are the capabilities that teams need to build in order to be healthier in the we quadrant, right? And so for us, as Agilists, The 2 skill areas that we can work on ourselves to help them do those 3 C's, building those 3 C's of capability, is developing our coaching skills to help teams process their human system and developing our facilitation skills to help them process their content. How many of you have seen an awful conversation that goes nowhere between your team members? Right? I mean, so facilitation skill to help them process their content a little bit would be useful. How many of you have seen really awful interaction between team members? Yeah. So that's the whole idea of coaching the team spirit. So let's experience it together. We're going to talk about the power of the third entity, and actually you all are going to do some work related to the power of third entity. You have a string. Find your string. Cool. All right. So go ahead and hold your string in one hand like I am.
No, I'm good. I've done this.
It's not doing very much, is it? Just sort of hanging there. It's not doing anything. In order for it to do anything, it has to be in relationship with something else. So go ahead and put your hand on the other side of it. And watch what happens when one hand goes this way. You might have to do this. So when one hand pulls your string, the other hand has to go, and vice versa, right? All of a sudden, there's a relationship between your 2 hands, right? Now, this next part is going to be you all simulating what it's like to be on a team and what the relationships are like on a team. Now, the tricky thing about this next part is it works best if we do this in silence, because I'm going to be layering on instructions. Is that cool? Can you guys try it? The first thing to do in silence is to get into Agile-sized teams. So 7 plus or minus 2. Go ahead and just find your teammates. It'll be best if you guys stand up because you're going to be moving around in just a moment with each other. Awesome. All right, so here's what you're imagining. You are imagining that you have just been assigned to this team, and as usual, there are some people that are more outgoing than others. So maybe a couple people on your team who feel like you're more outgoing, maybe you'll give one end of your string to someone else on the team. Maybe you'll start a relationship with them. Yeah, maybe just a couple of you. There you go. All right. And as time goes on, the relationships build. So go ahead and keep sharing one end of your string with someone else on your team. And as time goes on, you actually have to get work done together. So what you want to do is to create a web with your strings such that you could put at least some pieces of paper on it, maybe even something heavier. If you've got a couple pieces of paper, maybe try a pad of paper and see what happens. So this is basically your product. Is your web strong enough to hold your product? Product is a piece of paper or a pad of paper. There you go. All right, start to quiet down now because something amazing is going to happen. A conflict is going to happen. Because this always happens. In fact, we want it to happen, but when it's not done well, it can cause devastating results. Here's how the conflict works. 2 or 3 of you are going to decide to be in conflict with each other, and you're going to start moving your strings to simulate that. See what happens to your web. All right. Everyone, hold your web up really high. There you go. Look at it. Look at that web. That's the place where we focus when we coach at the team level. We focus on the web in its entirety. We do not focus on any one individual or any one interaction between people. We focus on the whole web. All right, thank your partners and sit down. All right. All right, so there is a whole discipline of systemic coaching out there in the world, all kinds of techniques and tools and processes to help teams focus on their web. Because here's the deal. Here's the secret. Human systems are highly intelligent and mostly unconscious of themselves. And when you, as someone doing Agile coaching, when you can help the team focus on the qualities of their web, who they want to be together such that they develop their capabilities while delivering, then you automatically help them move toward health. And you don't have to figure it out. The deal is to help them become more aware of their relationship system. When they become more aware of it, all of a sudden, they think of ways to deal with whatever the problem is that they're facing. Right? So this is one piece that is really important. And it's why, at least one reason why I think we don't necessarily have individual interactions in the forefront like we say we want. Because even though we have a great affinity for it, very few of us have the skills to operate at this level so far. It's not over yet. Yeah. Okay, so if you're curious about this, here are some first steps. 2 skills that are absolutely mandatory. Start building them right now. Self-management and presence. Because to help the team see their web, you've got to be able to be exquisitely present with them, and you've got to manage out your own agendas, opinions, wants, likes, dislikes, etc. Now, this book, Creating Intelligent Teams, is a good place to start. Yeah. It was written by the people who created organization and relationship systems coaching, which is one of the systemic coaching schools in the world and the one I'm familiar with. Okay. So this is one piece. So back to this question. Let's keep digging. What the heck is going on? Such that individuals and interactions take a backseat to processes and tools. We've just explored one aspect. I think another might be this idea of us moving from this conception of an organization as a machine to a new conception of an organization as an ecosystem. So just start to wrap your head around that for a second. I imagine many of you have tried, but here's the thing. The ecosystem stuff is pretty intangible. It's hard. It's harder for us. Right? All right, so let's look at a couple things. When I wrote the Coaching Agile Teams book, what I expressed was my own shift in belief system from organization as a machine to organization as ecosystem. Because when I was a plan-driven project manager, I can absolutely tell you that I believed the things on this screen. How many of you are willing to say that at some point in your career you believed some of these things on this screen? Yeah. I tried so hard to lock that scope down. Oh my gosh. I pinned it down, I stapled it down, I did all kinds of stuff, and it kept curling up at the edges. Right? So what happened to us is that the way we were working just didn't match the complexity of our world anymore. That's why these things stopped working. In some situations, they still work. Right? So look at what replaces these, though, in organization as an ecosystem. Customers getting the business value they need equals success. Well, shoot, I thought it was success if we just delivered on time, on schedule, on scope, budget, like all that. We never measured customer happiness in the old days. In fact, I was usually trying to hide from my clients at the end of a project because they were hardly ever happy. Right? But now we do. I mean, we talked a lot earlier today about customer focus and customer intimacy being an actual valid strategy. Right? So how many of you have made the shift in your own minds and in your own value system so that you believe these more of the time now? Yeah? Okay. So wherever you are in the organism machine to orgas ecosystem, know that that is the same terrain everyone else needs to travel for us to value individuals and interactions over processes and tools more. Right? And if you're here, like I am now with these beliefs, know that it's important to go be with people where they are. I can't shout from over here and help people make this shift. In fact, it's not just a shift in values or in beliefs, it's literally a shift and a development of the adult's mental complexity. So let's look at this a little bit. What we're going to do is talk about a few levels of adult human development here. One level is called truth force. Okay? At this level, if your world seems to match this and it works great, keep doing it. Basically what this level gives you is conformity, it gives you scale, it gives you predictability. At this level, an adult organized here will truly believe that if I sacrifice now, I'm going to get some reward later. Right? This has a lot of value. There's a lot of honor. There's honor in doing one's duty here. And I can feel the integrity of it. Right? The problem with it is that it's pretty inflexible. If there's some big change in the external environment, someone organized at this level won't be able to shift very quick with that. Right? It's true for organizations too, but we're just talking about individual adults here to make it simpler. Yeah. So the next one is strive drive. So strive drive comes online when we want reward now. I don't want to wait for some time in the future that may or may not ever come. I have a good idea now. And so strive drive rewards people who are willing to take risk, who are willing to bring their innovative creativity online and create something new. That's all cool. Strive drive starts to not match its environment when it creates problems for other people. For example, when this one gets unhealthy, there are winners and losers, and I don't really care. I'm going to be a winner, and you just, take care of yourself. Think about it on a planetary scale. This is what creates pollution as an externality. An organization can say, that's not on our books. Right. So the other thing is that relationships can become quite transactional here. You're my buddy as long as you can do something for me. Right? So out of a dissatisfaction with that rose human bond. Human bond is basically like this. Hey, we only got one planet. We all got to share it. There has to be a way for us to come together and deal with these big problems. There has to be. And in fact, we love hearing different ideas at the human bond level. Empowerment and diversity are not just, buzzwords. They're actual strategies at human bond. Now, what's beyond human bond is a little bit different than human bond, strive drive, and truth force. It's called flex flow. And this is the level that sees the importance of making all three of those other levels healthy, because we have 7 billion people on this planet going through those levels and actually a couple more below that we haven't even talked about. Right? So the idea is if we can make all that healthy, then people can flow through these a lot faster, and we can deal with the complex problems we have on this planet and in our organizations so much better. Right? So the thing about this is that the stages can't be skipped. They literally go like this. What we're talking about is an area called spiral dynamics or integral theory. Those are the things you might look up. So an adult can stop at any place. You know people that stop, right? How many of you work with people that stop? Right? The thing that can help them move from one to the next is for you to know how to move from one to the next. For you to have gone through that such that you can help guide them, right? So here's the thing about how these levels of adult human development map to the Agile Manifesto, because we're coming back to that now. At Truth Force, so think about this. The Agile Manifesto actually does not make sense, right? If you actually believe there's a capital T truth, there is a set of processes we can create to produce that truth again and again and again exactly the same way, then you are definitely going to want processes and tools over humans, individuals, and interactions. You're definitely going to want that. You're definitely going to want following a plan or responding to change. Right? So what happens as we move up to Strive Drive? Well, a piece of what we're liking in the Agile world comes online. A piece of our values system starts to show up. Working software over comprehensive documentation, yeah. You know why? Strive Drive is about accomplishment and success. And one of the main ways we measure success is money. Right? Show me the money. Yes, people buy working software. They do not buy comprehensive documentation. At the next level, human bond, we call it people-driven agile. This is where our value system starts to come online more fully. So yes, working software over comprehensive documentation, but also now individuals and interactions come online. So does customer collaboration. This is the first level at which customer intimacy is a valid business strategy that you can talk about without getting laughed out of the room. And at impact-driven agile, this whole idea of flex flow, the whole manifesto comes to life. The whole thing, especially responding to change over following a plan. A person organized at this level of mental complexity will not believe most of what they think. Does that make any sense to you? They will not believe most of what they think. They will know that their identity is shifting and changing and growing all the time. So we're not there, folks. We are not there. Where would you say people are organized mostly in your world? Which of those kinds of agiles are happening? Results driven? Yeah. It's pretty typical. It's just where we are. You know, we're all in this movement of adult human development. And here's the deal. Adults cannot skip a stage, nor can teams, nor can organizations. They have to go through it piece by piece. Right? So we have great aspirations to be a people-driven and impact-driven Agile. In fact, our Agile Manifesto is organized from that aspirational level of thinking. So what it means is that we are on the leading edge. If that's the leading edge of adult human development, that's where the whole world is going, then look around. The people sitting at your table, literally, look at them. We are on the leading edge. Yes, we are the leaders we've been waiting for. We absolutely are. Now, does this mean we walk our talk all the time? No. No. We certainly do reach back to older structures that feel more stable and feel more safe when we don't know what to do as Agilists. Look at the way most of our Agile consultancies are organized in a super orange way. You know, super strive drive way, right? Even though we have aspirations for that human bond, right? So we have some work to do, but it's worth doing. I mean, if we don't do it, we won't be able to help other people do it. So the big message is we are the leaders we've been waiting for, and if the leverage point is adult human development, guess what? Yours first. How else are we going to get there? Now, it's kind of crazy to say, oh yeah, just, level up your mental complexity, get that done, no big deal, right? It's a big deal. It takes a long time. But there are lots of people outside of our Agile community who are helping us with this. There are two in particular I'm going to introduce you to. One is Rob McNamara, and the other is Michael Hammond. So Rob McNamara has all kinds of writing on adult human development and specific ideas for how to help yourself scaffold yourself from one level to the next. And he says to assemble your superhero team. That's how I think about it anyway. He actually didn't say that. That's how I say it. I think about superheroes like, who's my Justice League, right? And so there are 3 superheroes that I'm suggesting you find in your world. One is Cognitive Connie. So this is like her little bio. This is her thing. I was thinking about the Riot games, actually, League of Legends. I couldn't quite do it justice, right? But I'm getting close here. So the idea is that this is a person who can deal with multiple competing perspectives at a time. When there's a really complex problem that gets thrown out in the team room, this person doesn't freak out. This person is like, okay, let's start looking at it, right? They are incredibly strategic, long and short term, right? And they're comfortable with uncertainty. So the deal is for you to find someone in your world that might have some of these characteristics and go to that person and say, hey, I want to have some conversations with you. For example, if you see them not freak out in a really complex situation, you might say, hey, I want to talk with you afterwards to find out what were you thinking so that you stayed present, so that you kept us moving. Because I want to be more like you. I want to develop my cognitive capabilities like I see you having. So cognitive is number 1. There are 3 of these. The second one is intrapersonal. So this is inside of your own being. So this is someone who can assess their own capabilities very clearly. They don't overinflate their capabilities, and they don't undersell themselves either. Right? This is someone who knows what the heck is going on inside of this body, this instrument, all the time. Who can remain calm. Who can help us navigate it when things get hot, and stay optimistic. To see, in essence, that everything is workable, even the super hard things. So you want to look for someone who's tolerating chaos and change and manages their own motivations and desires really well. And then, I'm not kidding, go to them and say, hey, I'd like you to be on my Justice League. Well, do you mind if I talk with you every once in a while? Here's the third one, interpersonal. Interpersonal Aisha. So she can draw people into her compelling vision, and she holds her hand out and says, come along with me. What's your piece of this vision? How does this make sense to you? What do you want? Right? So it is an incredibly facilitative way of being in the world. In fact, that you might do that. You might look for a leader that's more facilitative. When I say leader, it can be anywhere in the organization, right? Big L leader, little L leader, anywhere in between. All right. So this might be your Justice League. And the thing is, keep practicing in your culture of complexity, because you are in complex situations. You don't even have to manufacture them. They just exist all the time, right? And use Agile on yourself, which means one change at a time. Try it out. Measure how it went. Make an adjustment. So this is some advice from outside the Agile world about how to level up your own mental complexity, how to move through the adult stages of development as much as you want to. Right? Now, from inside the Agile world, there's a new book coming out by Michael Hammond called Evolve Agility. And I have been lucky to be on the early readers list of this book. And in fact, the editor of this book is in the room. Lyssa, would you just let people know, go ahead and stand up so they can see your face. Because if you want to talk with her about what this book is about, she has read every word about 45,000 times over the last few months. It's coming out in January. This book takes my breath away. It really does. It's very practical and very profound about what we're doing related to increasing our own inner agility. Yeah. Okay. So back to this last little bit on Peru. So you remember when we last left the story, we were there at the river, and the river had fallen by 20 feet. All of a sudden there were sandbars. All of a sudden it was really dangerous to navigate it. And I was astounded at that, right? So fast forward about 2 weeks later, my daughter and I have come out of the jungle. There's running water again. There's even hot water coming out of the tap. Oh my gosh, we thought we had died and gone to heaven. And we have this wonderful guide, a guy named Jimmy, whose first language was Quechua, which is the Incan language. So his family's descended from the people who lived in Machu Picchu. That's my picture of Machu Picchu. Yeah, it's incredible. It really is amazing, like people say. It really is. So Jimmy got us up there in the morning, and he was telling us all about the advanced level of civilization that the Incan people had before they left, fleeing Spanish conquering. And while he was telling us this, you know, all around Machu Picchu are these huge peaks. They call them apus. And there's clouds all over them. But for whatever reason, the clouds lifted, and I could see one of the glaciers. Yeah. And I got really emotional because there's this little song that I used to sing my daughter. And it's talking about how, you know, I love you bigger than this, I love you more than that. And there's a little line that said, bigger than the mountain in Peru where the Amazon starts. And I turned to Kaylee and I said, my God, we're here where the Amazon starts. I mean, this is it. We are at these mountains. And I turned to Jimmy and I said, look at this beautiful snow. Look at this glacier. And he said, yeah, you used to be able to stand here and look all the way around. All of these apus, all of these mountaintops had snow on them. And I said, really? Like how long ago? Expecting him to say, 100, 200 years ago. And he said, 10 years ago. 10 years ago. So that's when I started to cry. And he was so nonchalant about it. He just shrugged. He's like, yeah, it's the global warming. It's what's happening. If that's where the Amazon starts, and there's not enough snowpack to melt to create the water that flows down those rivers, that creates the life force for everything in the jungle, that creates the clouds that I saw where, the jungle's breathing for us. I don't know what happens next. I think we're going to find out. I used to think, in fact, even just March, when I gave this keynote earlier this year, I said, I hope I don't have to find out. And now I am quite sure that I and we are going to find out. So I've been in the big question of the fact that we have this amazing thing called Agile. It really is the greatest thing since sliced bread. It will accelerate any mission you give it, won't it? And I'm thinking, if I am one of the leaders of the future, what am I spending my time doing with Agile? So I don't know how, when, I don't know how all this is going to happen, folks, but I am really clear that I need to help us know how to navigate all of the things that are going to be coming. I'm basically in the question of who's the leader I want to be while we're in collapse. Now, you don't need to be there. Please, let's not all go there. Right? But the question really has been sitting with me, and I want to have the question sit with you. If we are the leaders we've been waiting for, if we are on the leading edge of adult human development as a community, and for you personally, what are you applying Agile to that's worthy of you? Now, if you can answer that question by saying, my day job, it is like it's totally worthy of me. I could not think of a better way to apply this greatest thing since sliced bread, then you just go on with your bad self. Please continue. But if that question makes you stop short, if you have a sense inside of yourself that we don't have forever to figure these things out, then you might really want to consider what you want to apply this amazing thing to. Now, my view is the planet. That's a grand scale. Your community, your family, those are grand too. So what I want us to do is to keep this kind of contemplative mojo we have going on, this environment we have going on in here. And I want you to really think about what you can aspire to. Like, what would be worthy of you to apply Agile to? And what's going to happen is that you're just going to say it out loud. And we're going to hear different things from all around the room. And that's how this is going to end. So go ahead, project yourself into the future. What can you imagine? What missions can you imagine accelerating? What would be worthy of you? You don't have to say it loud. Okay. How many of you have something you might have said? Right now, tell the person next to you. May it be so. Thank you.